All right, June 17, 2025, welcome to the Dayton EDA. We are now in session. Before we start, I want to make sure that we get some things covered, and one of them is a card for Jack.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. You didn't have to do that.
Probably didn't see which big name written all over it here.
Well, I can't see out of my left eye, so.
Good placement.
Yeah.
But we just want to make sure that we recognize all the work you've done for the city. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And may there be many more.
Yeah. Thank you. I have 4 radiation sessions left, so end of this week I'm done. So you can see this is the side of my head that they're radiating. But yeah, so it's been okay. It's, back and forth to Rochester every day, except for Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, it's worked out. Hopefully everything will be clear in 4 months when they do a new scan or whatever, so should be good.
Nice.
I'm being positive.
Let's 8 years together.
Yeah, well, I thank you. It's been a long time since I joined the EDA, and it's been slow to get going, for sure. Hopefully some things now are really starting to happen, which I feel like they are, thanks to yourself and others on the committee, so that's great. And it's just, it makes it a lot easier to come and attend the meetings when you see things happening versus when, can't get anything done. So that's awesome. So appreciate it. Thank you.
We appreciate it. And of course, I'd like to recognize what's happening in the news lately. John is technically one of us, as he's tried to help us many times. Of course, to no avail last time.
John Hoffman.
John Hoffman, yeah, Senator Hoffman. And he's a friend, so I want to make sure that we reach out and publicly address that. Okay, can we get approval of the agenda? Anybody want to see any changes or what you got going there? Everything making sense, everybody?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, do we have to talk about the consent agenda, or do we just push that through there, John?
It's up to you. So typically with the consent agenda, it's a motion and second to approve, or if there's any items that you want to take out, then remove. The motioner should remove that item from the consent.
Okay. Then we want to approve the consent agenda, everyone.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Open forum. John, is there anybody online? Hayden, is there anybody online?
There's nobody online.
Nobody on the floor. We'll skip past that one. Our old businesses still stand. We've also put the related E back on the program just because we've had a conversation, well, not we, but someone in the city's had a conversation with Semstone about the railroad spur.
Yes.
Is there any more traction on that particular E?
Not that I can confirm. So I've got a message in the Semstone, but so in short, I know Zach, city administrator, has talked to one person at Semstone who's interested in pursuing it, but that I've not had a chance to talk to that person. So I've talked to other people at Semstone, it's just not the right people yet.
Is this person that we talked to, or admin talked to, a higher level?
Yes,
Oh. So it's got some traction.
it sounds like it.
Okay.
And related to that, would it do any good for the EDA to go talk to that person?
That has been offered. I'm waiting for a response from
Okay.
admin to go have that conversation. So, anybody else want to talk about old businesses? I see. Go ahead, Jack.
I just wanted to say that the gal doing the Flowerpot stuff, I see her out there working all the time. They look fantastic, and she's doing a great job.
Nice. Okay.
I mean, you drive by town, she's out there pruning them or doing whatever. So I've stopped a couple of times to thank her, so.
Okay, good.
Mr. Chair, if we could go through the old business item by item?
You gotta go
No,
through 'em.
we're not gonna.
No? Okay. So we do have a couple items that should be talked about.
Go ahead.
So we have item F, which is the Lent property.
Mm-hmm.
You scroll down there. This item was tabled at the May 20th EDA meeting, so Stantec had put together 3 concept plans. Each of them included the Refslin property. The EDA had requested that Stantec prepare a 4th concept plan that excluded the Refslin property. Just to summarize each one, if we can go to option 1. Option 1 is for an event center. This is a 12,000 square foot building with a 250 person capacity. It's similar in size to the Mississippi Crossings event center. Option 2 is a brewery outfitter with a 7,500 square foot brewery and outfitter commercial space. It features outdoor viewing towards the Crow River as well as a staging area for the outfitter. Option 3, I'm going through these real quickly, anticipating that the EDA will discuss this in more detail, each one. Option 3 is a flex space with 3 2,500 square foot buildings. The intention here is that each building could have a separate use, whether it's a coffee shop or a restaurant or some type of retail or an outfitter, but each of them, it could be used for any use that you can imagine. Then option 4 is the commercial retail. This is intended just to sit on the property that the EDA currently owns. It includes a 5,000 square foot commercial retail building on the corner, as well as a second building with intended for a restaurant with 2,700 square feet or 85 seats, including outdoor seating in between the 2 buildings. The commercial retail, it's commercial retail on the first floor and then residential on the second floor. So residential being 4 apartments, each apartment with a 1-car garage and a 1-stall parking stall in front of each garage stall. So Stantec kind of did a lot more detail with this and trying to figure out how does it fit within the zoning ordinance. In each of the 4 cases, the parking lot is used as floodplain storage. So as you may recall, most of this property is within the 100-year floodplain, so whatever amount of fill we put in, an equal amount needs to be reestablished as floodplain.
For the record, that's exactly what I pictured. So hats off to Stantec on that one.
Option 4.
That one right there.
Option 4.
Because in the event that our funding didn't come through at the state level, we had to have a plan B, and in my head, this was plan B. I'd certainly like to see where the parking lot goes into the Crow River there, or of a landing for canoes or what have you.
So one of the differences between options 1, 2, and 3 and option 4, so 1, 2, and 3 draws a lot of attention to the Crow River. Option 4 doesn't so much. It puts all the attention towards the street. So on the Crow River, there is kind of I don't know if I want to call it a pedestrian area, that little circle. Jason, if you can point to it. Yep, there it is. Yeah, well, yeah, to the right of where you're pointing. So essentially within the floodway, which is the green area, there's intended not to be any fill. Like that's just left alone. Whenever you have a large flood event, it's going to be in the floodway. So within the 100-year flood zone, you can add fill and as long as it's compensated. So, but option 4 does draw more attention to the street and less attention to the river. And part of that is just because there's not as much land to work with along the river.
Well, I like it.
Yeah.
You guys like that? Look.
I think all 4 are
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
really
definitely.
cool.
So that's what I was gonna say, are you looking at, if you do get some funding, maybe some of the other options versus?
We were funded 3 ways, but given the current events, the other 2 are kind of.
Yeah, no, I understand.
The one that we officially applied for, nobody got funded. So it's not a city year. So we're not the only guys in town that didn't get any of that.
And what you're referring to is the city put in a request for funding from the legislature to buy property in the old village, and we did not get any funding from the legislature, and neither did almost anyone else.
Yep, that's what I'm referring to.
Yep.
For the record.
In looking at option 1, where you have an event center, does this essentially then become a city-owned entity?
That'd be the intent, so that would replace the city, what do we call it, the event center that we have at Fire Station 2, Fire Station 1. We do have long-term plans of replacing that, it's just this would potentially speed it up.
Well, we're going to be talking about this more anyway, right? Or is this is your venue, right?
It is, but I'm looking for direction from the EDA. And this more deals with what we'll be discussing in the closed session. But if there's any of the 4 options that the EDA really likes or does not like, then that I would like to know.
What's I'm looking at option 3 versus 4, and that the difference is we have to buy the other property.
1, 2, and 3, you gotta buy the other property.
Yes.
Is there I'm just asking, is there a hybrid where you can make option 4 a bit more like 3, obviously not that big, but where maybe you'd still have the retail up top and on 4, but yet have more river access or whatever? So would it make it more appealing to the potential buyers and or
Sure.
developers?
So if we had option 4 and then had like a flexible building space on the Refsland property, you mean?
Or in that green area, which I know is floodplain, I mean, I know it could only be like blacktop or concrete or some kind of, pergolas or
Yeah.
whatever things you'd put by the river. But, I mean, something that could go by the river that would make the river more accessible for these companies as well as be floodplain friendly, I guess you'd call it.
I don't believe so. Like, I don't believe we can put structures in the floodway.
So,
Well, I didn't mean structures, I meant, are there, as an example, at Stephen L.C. Park or whatever,
Yeah.
you have things that are going down to the river that are allowable because I suppose when it floods, it doesn't hurt, doesn't make any damn difference, I guess. So that's what I was thinking.
Sure.
Of what kind of things could you do in that green space that would make maybe, or even come up into the parking lot a little bit, make that more attractive for potential suitors, so to speak, or
Sure.
businesses?
I-
I'm not saying it's not attractive
Right.
now. I'm just.
No, I don't understand what you're saying. Something better than a lawn.
can I, the second property there, how much of that is in the floodplain, the entire?
All of it. I mean, within the Lent property, almost all of it is in the floodplain. There's just a small area that's where the existing
Or the
upper
retail?
garage is.
I agree with Tim. I like this option 3 and
4, this is
4. And without regard to the other issue that we'll discuss later, that this is still a viable issue, and I like that it's privately owned, not owned by the city, because,
Let's get out of business way.
yep,
Yeah.
So that's where I was going to weigh in as well in terms of the options is, my preference is that it be commercial. This is a combination option for commercial and residential, but it'd be my preference there rather than the city competing with the event centers that are cropping up around town. That seems to be a viable business, but we don't need to be in it if private enterprise is working in those
Sure,
places.
we are in it now, but.
It's a community center.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
but this would be focus on different, an expanded list of the types of events it might attract. And for me, it's the same argument against a municipal liquor store. You know, do we need to be in that business? And for me, this is a no. So I prefer the option 4 because that's the property that we own, and it's a good-looking option. You know, I'm a little bit confused because you're saying that we can't, if the other property became available, that we can't build anything on it, but option 2 shows a building on that property.
So when you build onto it, you have to compensate for what area you build on. So like, for example, in option 4, we're using the parking lot as floodplain storage. If someone were to redevelop the Refsland property, it's kind of the same thing. It's just they have a smaller footprint to compensate for floodplain storage, because now, what they do has to stay on their property and what we do has to stay on ours. It doesn't mix together. If we had all of it, then we have more land to share.
Yeah, and I guess my thinking was just that if we moved ahead with this type of a concept, and then that other property became available, could we expand, still do this, but
sure.
expand onto some portion
You
of
could,
the property
yeah.
with additional construction?
Yes.
Does the city council have any say in what decisions we look at? Certainly, if you look at that picture on the top center, that really establishes a sort of a cornerstone for downtown Dayton, whatever that is going to be. And so I don't know what the city has planned,
Setting the mood.
but it does. It says, oh, you know what, this could work.
Sure.
It could be the beginning of a whole bunch of things.
Flavor to come. I
Hey,
got you.
can you go to the master plan if you page up? So the EDA and the council has adopted the Historic Village Framework Plan, which shows that corner as being commercial, and then the Refsland property just stays as it is.
I remember those conversations, and that's why we zoned it in that way. Planning finished up the zoning perks, and we just got to be able to say, this is our vision. So, we've all seen this, in a show of fingers, why don't you just hold up which ones you want? Which ones you like the best? Or the one? Because I agree with him, and I'm holding up for it.
The one that's gonna fit with you.
With what we got without the purchase.
Do we get to do sign language here?
And we had enough of that this weekend, watching all that. But I'm on for 4.
Yeah, that's my preferred.
That's my preferred.
Scott?
I'd be all over 4. I've said it from day one.
I support 4. I think you just got to have at least a thought process about what if some other opportunities come available.
Plan B?
Yeah. I mean, how do you take 4 and expand it if opportunities were to present themselves?
Well, we should crawl before we run.
No, I agree.
So I think we got direction now for 4.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you want to do a backup for all the other ones?
No.
No? Send it.
Let me ask you a question. When we do that, how do we, as a EDA and or city, because this is going to be private funding, how do we more or less dictate that this option 4 is what gets built?
You send it out for an RFP.
As the landowner, you have the option of selling it to whoever you want to sell it to.
Right.
And so I guess my suggestion is you sell to a developer that's going to build what you want to see there.
So you'd send it out for like an RFP with designs to come back, and then you'd choose
The caveats of here's what we want here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is kind of what we're looking for.
Tell
Yeah.
me
What's your
ideas, what you
proposal?
want.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
kind of my plan, since, option 4 is the direction of the EDA, is we staff can talk to developers that are specialized in this area of how is this feasible? So we have a pretty picture, we don't know if it works financially. So oftentimes we're really good at coming up with a vision for what we'd like to see, then the developer comes in and says, there's no way
Full of water.
that pencils out.
So good thing we got an IAG company that can back us up on this. This is their venue.
Yes. For marketing, yes.
So we should probably have direction there and say, okay, IAG, we get it, this is our thing, how do we move forward?
Yes.
We all agree to that? Let's do that.
Okay.
That's our realtor, right?
Are you good with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
the real, IAG is the realtor.
Those are.
The commercial
Yeah.
realtor.
Yeah.
Okay, you said you want to talk about something else on
Yep.
this here?
Item G, the EDA mission statement was tabled by the EDA on May 20th. The EDA had asked for more time to consider the language. So I don't know if, there's no hurry in this, so if you'd like to make a decision, that's great. If you'd like to put it off another month, that's fine too.
Let's get it off our old business. Let's get it off our old business.
And,
So we should take a decision on this right now.
okay.
There's no sense of, waiting and waiting and waiting. So do you guys like the proposed?
I like it better than the existing.
Yeah,
Is that code for yes?
well, I would agree that can always change it again
Yeah.
if we think we need to, but I would also agree that it's better than the existing.
So, everything else? Motion to change? Anybody want to get a motion?
I'll make a motion to change.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? Motion so carries. Was there something else, John, you want on old business? We can go and get rid
No.
of that now, right? Okay. New business?
New business, we have two items, and we'll try to go through these fairly quickly. First one is Telcom, a concept plan.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the EDA, last week or 2 weeks ago now, the Planning Commission met and reviewed a concept plan on Dayton Fields 4th Edition. If you orient yourself on the corner of 121st and West French Lake Road, kind of up by the Invent or Capital Partners building, that warehouse up near the Graco site, are looking for feedback on a 26,000 square foot building on a roughly 7-acre property. It would be a contractor operation out of Clearwater. The company is Telcom Construction. Everything on the site is generally in compliance with the zoning ordinance. There are a couple of flexibilities that they'd be requesting through the concept feedback related to gravel as the surface on outdoor storage. So that was kind of the main discussion at the Planning Commission meeting. Ultimately, the Planning Commission said that they are comfortable with allowing a certain amount of area of gravel for outdoor storage area. The applicant basically described the large tracked equipment that they use on the site for maneuvering and things like that would make it hard to maintain any asphalt or concrete on the site. That was kind of what they had stated. Though the zoning district in the I-1 does limited outdoor storage pavement to asphalt or concrete and does not allow for flexibility for gravel. The Planning Commission ultimately said to work with them to see if we can reduce it as much as possible, and they would be comfortable seeing it come back. So that was really the majority of it. There's the outdoor storage area would be fenced and around. I don't know if you've been out into this area before, but this property is set quite high up above the road that
It's
is
up there.
out there. So we think that visibility won't be too big of an issue related to what is going to be stored back there. But yeah, overall, the Planning Commission gave positive feedback and gave them good direction. So,
It's a tall property.
yeah.
It is very tall. I mean, it's like 15 feet up, easy. So I walked it, I seen it. I got zero issues with that. Now, the company that's there is the actual applicants, right?
Well, the applicant, the company is working with a person to help them get through this process, and they were essentially the applicant. But
So it ain't somebody for somebody else, maybe sometime down the road. It's not spec.
no, there is an identified user on this site.
Then I have no issues with this at all, because I read through it, I've been to the site, I checked it out. If they're that high and put a fence up and they got a berm on top of it, the only thing is going to see the satellites.
The only other thing that the Planning Commission recommended related to the site plan was if the front fence area could be a decorative fence along the building line, or if they could tuck it back a little bit further. Let me see if I can go back to the 8-foot tall fence proposed would go all the way up to roughly the middle of the parking lot. So there was just a little bit of discussion on how they could make that look nicer if it is kind of the front-facing area of the property, so.
Hopefully we won't beat them up coming in. Let's get this one sold.
Yeah, I think it's a great plan. It's a very good-looking building. I think the layout is good. The gravel area makes perfect sense for what they do and what they're going to be parking there. I mean, yeah, overall, it's very nicely put together.
And I would definitely relax the outdoor storage thing, because you're in I-1 right now. This is their business. It's like, it's what they do.
How many
They need
employees?
space.
I think it was 80.
Yeah, I believe
80?
it was something like that. This would be a satellite location to their headquarters in Clearwater, Minnesota.
So that's 80 employees, including employees that are not there day to day. So they're
Sure.
coming and going, or
Well, it sort of fits in the high tech as well. You know, they deal with satellite communications.
So forward
That's what they do?
recommendation?
They, Commissioner, what they do is essentially large-scale utility work within right-of-ways for developments and things like that.
Maybe they can
whether
fix our
that's trenching
telecom stuff.
lines and
Yeah,
things.
maybe.
We haven't have a problem.
We agree, however,
You all good, Jack? You like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly where it's at, but
Yeah, you got to walk it out. It's a big area, and it's actually pretty nice, right across from the water. Nice setup. It's a weird shape, so
across from French Lake, you mean?
Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
you'd have to find
on the west
something.
side.
I mean, it's big enough to do whatever you want with, but they got a lot of dirt work to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a
Recommendation?
big issue with it.
You good?
Yeah.
Not yet,
What's that?
not yet. I'm not good.
Oh, go ahead.
So I guess I have to say, or give this caveat, I've been out of the country for a couple of weeks, so I haven't caught up on a couple of these other meetings that have happened. But my initial reaction is I don't love the gravel piece, and, you know, maybe I need to hear more about why this is uniquely different than every other business in the community, that they have to have that instead of what our code requires. So that's my, I guess, my one piece of discomfort on the whole thing, is maybe just understanding that better. You know, if they've got a legitimate reason, then I'm happy to hear it, but I haven't heard it yet, so.
Sure. What was discussed at the Planning Commission in Hayden, you can correct me if my memory's wrong, they have 5 track vehicles and trailers for those track vehicles. And the intention of the gravel is when you have track vehicles on asphalt, it rips up the asphalt, so gravel, it's more forgiving. The gravel area, it is large for just 5 track vehicles, so the applicant did say that they can reduce it, but we didn't get into a discussion by how much.
Yeah, so I guess that's what I'm looking for, is more discussion on that, and I will catch up on these meetings I missed while I was gone.
There's only, 20 hours probably that the biggest you'd watch.
And maybe a good alternative instead of gravel would be recycled asphalt. Because I don't know if anyone knows about recycled asphalt, but when it is put down and it's compacted, it does become very solid and almost becomes asphalt again. But you can fix it, grade it, and use track equipment on it, and it's pretty forgiving. So again, maybe something like that would be an alternative instead of gravel or
Standeck
similar
have some
type
on that?
product.
Yeah, using, as mentioned, the recycled bituminous works well because the binder material is still in there. And then that, especially in the summer months, it heats, softens, and compacts together and seals. Very good for dust control too. A lot less dust with that than there is with either virgin material or even recycled concrete.
Would that suffice our ordinance?
It could, yeah. Well, I mean, it's not, it's better than gravel, but it's not concrete or asphalt by itself. So I'd say it's a happy medium.
How do you feel about that one, Dave?
Yeah, well, I'm fine with moving ahead with a recommendation from this
Yeah.
committee. I'm just saying for myself, I want to hear more about it before I get to it.
Well, I'm
Kind
sure
of a
you will.
final.
Council level, you would.
Well, maybe to the loading area for their track vehicles. It sounds like what they need is to be able to load them onto trailers. So how big does that have to be to
And trailers
accommodate their
beat up-
business, you know?
Everything beats up the tar.
Oh, yeah.
We can't park tool trucks on ours without ditching, and we got 7 inches. So
Yeah,
I get what they're saying.
yeah. No, I mean, any vehicle will, but I mean, track one.
Oh,
And I'll just note too, in terms of dust control, they did mention that they would plan to use Class 2 gravel instead of Class 5, so it would be
Smaller.
from my understanding, it'd be a larger rock.
Oh, it's smaller, I think.
Less fines.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not as much
Sand.
small particles that create the dust. It would be larger particles that would stay on the ground better.
And would that still count then as pervious surface?
Compacted gravel is impervious. It's considered impervious, at least for stormwater regulations. I don't know about by your code, but if it is compacted gravel, it is treated as an impervious surface for stormwater needs.
Okay.
We would calculate that into the percentage for impervious surface.
Whether this is paved or that, it still works?
Yes.
As far as the ratios of things that you have to have there?
Yep, their stormwater is treated exactly the same, yeah.
And council member, you'll see this at the next meeting, at the next city council meeting in June. This will be coming forward to you. One of the things we will touch on is the I-1 outdoor storage requirements. After the planning commission did mention that they were okay with the gravel on the site, I didn't get any direction on terms of how to address that in the code, because they are not gonna ask for a planned unit development to offer those flexibilities. So their alternative is either requesting a text amendment or applying for a variance.
Okay. Well, some more to come, but I think the use is good.
Okay. So John, we're going to recommend you move forward with that, that
Okay.
they have our nod of approval.
Okay.
And hopefully they take this and we have a new business in our city to. Okay, Scannell property, site plan, did we cover that or do you want to cover that?
Yeah, so this is a request for preliminary plan approval and site plan review approval. So Scannell is proposing, I think it's Dayton, I gotta think of the name of it, Dayton Interchange, I believe.
The upside down tie piece?
Yes. So this is, previously Scannell received approval for this in 2022. At that time, although they received approval, they did not build it. There wasn't a market at that time. They've come back and are asking to kind of go through this process again. They're proposing to build a 126,000 square foot speculative office warehouse building. One change between the 2022 plan and the 2025 plan is that they are wanting to flip the building, the orientation of the building, so the front of the building is going to front territorial. The back of the building with the dock doors and trailer storage then faces County Road 81. Within our code, the code does not allow outdoor storage fronting arterial roadways, which includes Interstate 94 as well as County Road 81. So in this case, it is not consistent with the zoning code. When this in the area that's highlighted in yellow is the trailer storage. When this was reviewed by the Planning Commission, the Commission determined that the railroad track separates this property from County Road 81. Therefore, the Planning Commission is supportive of the trailer storage as it is, although they did request that that Scannell shift the trailer storage a little bit to the west as much as practical. So there's the very west corner, there's a stormwater pond that's planned. I don't know what that will look like to kind of try to shift it, but, so that still needs to be worked out.
So direction to us, you were looking for us to.
So the first question is generally, are you supportive of the project as is proposed? So again, it's a 14-lot subdivision of, one building on one lot. With the site plan review, it gets more into the appearance of the property. So the elevation shown on the bottom of the screen is the front of the building that faces territorial. So it's different shades of gray, essentially. On the back side, you would see dock doors. The Planning Commission did recommend that the dock doors not be painted white. That'd be some form of gray to match the building, or such that the doors don't stick out as much from 81.
Just to be clear, is this the property that was proposed to swap with the triangle?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
To swap with the triangle. So it's across the road from?
Well, they're not going to, but
No, they're not going to.
Across from
it
Semstone,
was,
next to Opus.
they asked.
It's across from Semstone.
Yeah, right next to Opus that was constructed, which is
Yeah.
the turbine.
The turbine.
And that's
So
why it's
behind-
upside down
It's down
town.
81 a
Sure,
little
yep.
bit. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, the turbine one's the one just, right there.
That's Semstone there.
And then Semstone's down
Well, it would seem to me that, based on the description, that they had already gotten approval in 2022 to do what they wanted to do. Now, I don't know, I wasn't on the EDA then. I don't know if the EDA had a say then or not. But to me, it seems reasonable.
Jack, remember going through this? I don't remember seeing this in 22.
No, I don't remember, but
So
I don't, my memory could be bad too, I don't know.
The,
But, I mean, the only thing I mean, it's, call it what you want, but it's another warehouse, it looks like to me. Warehouse with maybe very limited office space. But considering that all the neighbors are kind of pretty industrial warehouse type places anyway, so maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, you know, I think from what we said from an EDA, we'd like to see more businesses that are bringing in more jobs, not five
Not
warehouse people.
manufacturing,
But,
not
I mean,
warehouse.
considering where it's at, maybe it's okay to have another warehouse.
Well, my experience is, and based at looking at the frontage, you know, the front view of the building, you know, this would probably be an ideal building for, let's say, Boston Scientific. They need another 50,000 square feet. You know, you have the office, the frontage, easy access to the road. So it might look like a warehouse, but it also looks like, renting to a company that needs office and manufacturing or warehousing, you know, I mean,
But it's still spec.
it's right,
Yep.
it's still spec.
So we have enough, we have so much spec in this city now.
Yes.
There's a lot of space.
And if Scannell were here, and, you know, granted, the EDA and both the city council and the planning commission have had concerns about building speculative buildings versus wanting to know who's going to move in there before the building's built. What Scannell and other developers, similar developers have said is you have to build the building first in order to attract the customer. It doesn't really go the other way. It's hard to, now, I say that, and the last project we had for Telcom is doing the opposite.
I'm just going there.
So-
You got me, John.
Well,
Say, hold on now, we just talked about a piece that wasn't
I
that.
think that's different, though. I think that the telecom business is an existing business looking to expand into the northwest suburbs versus a spec building. I mean, when we bought our building, we bought it pretty much exactly the same thing, you know. And when we rented, we looked around at existing buildings because it's just easier, you know, as a company, you know, to sit and want to build a building. Boy, that's 2-3 years of
Yep.
work, you know, versus here's some space, it fits well. And I think as long as it looks good, you know, it's not just a row of loading docks, you know.
so the loading dock, I know we talked about facing 81. Is there an ordinance, or is it, technically they're not supposed to face 81?
It's more the trailer storage. So in the discussion that I remember taking place in Planning Commission, and this was several years ago, was that the commission didn't want a repeat of King Solutions all over the city, where when you drive down 94, all you see are trailers. You should be looking at the nicer side of the building, not the dock doors and not trailer storage. Now, on the flip side, we have Opus that's next door. That's a recent building, recently constructed, that has trailer storage and dock doors facing 81 and Dayton Parkway. In that case, it was a difficult site. It had a cell phone tower. It was just hard to fit everything. It was hard to make the ordinance fit, you know, onto the property. So there were concessions that were made to allow the Opus project with trailer storage and dock doors facing 81 and Dayton Parkway.
I mean, where this property is, though, you'd never see the dock doors from 94, would you? I mean,
No, you wouldn't,
No,
just
okay.
from 81. This is far from 94.
What, the other thing I was gonna bring up is if Semstone has this interest in this railroad spur, would it make sense to talk to this company about, you know, I mean, if you're gonna do a spec building, I think that backs right up to where
Yes.
Semstone would probably put the spur, right? The tracks are in between this property.
So Semstone is across the street, so they would operate independently. So, I mean, there could be
Well, where would the Spur be if it went in?
Right here on the south side of the Semstone property.
Right down there where the track is.
yes,
The track runs right along 81, right?
yes.
Tracks right there.
I mean, it just would seem that maybe, particularly if they're building it spec, that might be a conversation we want to have with them to say, hey, this company right behind you is looking at potentially doing a railroad spur. Maybe there's some advantage for you.
I don't think Scannell has an interest
No.
in a railroad spur on this site. There's not room for it.
Okay.
Plus, a railroad sport, in my opinion, is related to heavy industry. Somebody that needs a lot of product, like the lumberyard in Osseo,
King
cement.
Solutions right there in the bottom. Look at the advantage they would have. And then across the road to the cubes.
Well, I was just wondering if that's going to be essentially a warehouse. I mean,
Yeah.
is it really any different than King Solutions? I mean, King Solutions is mostly warehouse with a little bit of office, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what you're saying as far as spec.
Yeah, but they're climate controlled, obviously. They can house and store. See how the roof airs? That's climate controlled on Kings.
On Kings, but I'm just saying that the spec building that's being proposed is not much unlike King's building.
Right.
Maybe, other than maybe it's not climate controlled, I don't know. But
The other thing I would mention is, I think if you go down 169, just south of 109th, between 109th and 610, I think that's where you see a lot of these types of
Yep.
buildings.
And that's a Scannell project.
And look at who's renting. I mean, it's biometrics, it's medical.
No, I think Boston Scientific is in there.
It's in there. A lot of catheter manufacturers.
Yeah.
So I lost direction. Where are we going?
So I guess the direction I'm looking from the EDA is if you're supportive of the preliminary plat and the site plan review.
I personally am.
Is the TIF request still part of this project?
Yes, but not for the EDA section. So they'll go forward to the council next week.
With my EDA hat on, then I think this is a good plan.
I agree. I think it's a good plan, especially for the shape of the land. It seems like a good planned out use.
Scott, Jack, thumbs up?
yeah,
I'm fine.
considering the neighbors, I'm not sure what else you.
All right, John, let's send that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's go to staff updates. Let's make that quick. I want to do this closed session.
Okay, so first item, I took this off the agenda, but then had time to add it. So for the EDA budget, shows what our budget was in 2023, 24, 25, or what the budget was in 25 and what we're requesting in 26. Our budget calendar, we start in kind of May, June, and the budget is adopted in September. Well, preliminary budget is adopted in September, then final budget adopted in December. So it's a half-year-long process. So currently where we're at is the department heads are requesting a budget for the EDA of about $26,000 to the council, and the council will refine it later this summer. Last year, our budget was $0. I'll just say in 2023, it was $16,000. 2024 is $28,000. 2025 was $0, and then for 2026, we're asking for $26,000. So this is just a quick summary.
Do you know where the 26,000 came from? Because it seems like we're spending 100 plus on legal fees.
For the EDA, it's much smaller than 100 plus. So for the EDA, we have budget around, I'm going to say 10 to 12,000. So I'm just assuming $1,000 a month with some extra money for if we do any studies or if we hire IAG on an hourly rate to do any particular work. So there's a little flexibility in that. We have contractual services of $2,500. That's to pay for Elevate Hennepin. So we I think we're on year 2 of a contract. Current year, since we don't have a budget, that just comes out of the EDA reserves. And then miscellaneous, we have $1,000 for just unplanned incidentals. So the main cost in our $26,000 is going to be legal fees and professional services, which includes legal.
We have about $500,000 in reserves.
Rough, a little more than that, but yeah.
531.
Yeah, we've got some
531.
unpaid bills in there, so it's, I'm gonna say around 530-ish.
Okay.
You wanted to say something?
Well, it just seems light to me. The actual costs are running higher than that and likely to continue that way since there's more.
Activity?
Historical's always a good way to look at things, but the activity of this committee has changed a lot in the last 2 years, so I don't know, looking back farther than that tells us much. Also in light of interest in purchases, there isn't money there to actually be doing that.
Correct. There's also limited money to support the revolving loan fund, which we've not had any applicants for, but we are offering it. And we can only offer it if we have money to put in there.
What do you want to see there?
I don't know that I have that answer, but I think that's a great discussion point, and kind of going both ways on this. I see Scott getting nervous on me because I'm talking about adding money, but you never get more than you ask for, number one. And I just don't think 26,000 will actually cover our expenses in
And to
the
expand.
next year. And if there's interest in, we haven't talked at all about how to fund some of these other acquisitions. If that's intended to be covered in a regular operating budget, or if we're doing something different for that. So that's a wild card for me, but I don't know. I think that if you're asking me to just throw out a number, I would start at 100,000, see where that goes.
So you wanted 0.024% of our average tax levy-ish?
Maybe. I'm not doing that math in my
Well,
head.
if we're going to do this, and we got to now go to council and say, hey, big brother, we got to fund this triangle piece.
Well,
Then
right. I mean,
eventually,
I
we're
think
going to have our own fundings to
the
do this,
case
so we
has
don't have to do that.
Forward, that this is legitimate and the council needs to recognize it and through the taxing authority.
Yeah.
That's a separate discussion where it actually lands, but I think that you don't start this low and.
Yeah, we don't want to stay above ground. We want to be. I mean, if we can start getting properties, companies coming in and start that going, of course. I mean, makes sense.
We've been, 2 years without, and 3 years without the tax authority?
Without an EDA levy. So previously, the EDA levy was $100,000, which you can't do a whole lot with $100,000, but it builds up.
Right.
It's built.
So it had built up to $700 and some thousand, and then the EDA started buying property. And you can't, you can do that a couple of times, you can't do that more than twice.
No sustainable value.
Right.
Well, and I thought originally when we talked way back when the EDA first formed was, to keep it kind of the minimal side of what we were able to tax, but to do exactly that, to be able to build up a fund, to be able to
Pull the
someday be able to
Yeah.
do some of the economic development things we wanted to do. Because you can't do that. I mean, we can all come and meet and talk about whatever, but if you don't have any money to do anything, there's no reason to meet,
And time creates opportunity.
Yeah.
Now we've had enough time. We're 8 years into this. Things are happening.
And I think part of the reason that we hadn't done any on the taxing authority was because, council, we're going through these growing pains in the city, and so they didn't want to have the tax rate be too high, and so there's the trade-off. And I don't know if we're over that because I'm not sitting on the council, but I assume as a lot of these homes come into the tax base, some of that pain is starting to maybe readjust. I don't know.
But as a
It
business
It
group,
never readjusts.
Yeah, well, I suppose because you have more and more needs.
Give them $1, they'll want $1.10.
Yeah. Well,
Well, this is going to be a tighter budget this
It's gonna
year
be tough.
because our tax capacity didn't grow the way that it has in the past.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a different kind of a fight this year over, the pennies versus the dollars. But
Well, we
for
do
me,
have
I think that
several
what,
projects.
philosophically, I mean, both ways. I think we need to have a reasonable understanding of what our operating expenses are going to be, and that should be funded through the levy. We don't have another source of income.
Right.
The original vision of building up sort of a war chest
Yeah.
piece of it, does that go on top of what we know or expect to spend? That's a discussion for this
Yeah.
group and ultimately the council, but I think those are two kind of separate pieces.
I'd like to ask a question. So, it says proposed EDA budget. Is that coming from the city council?
For 2026, this is coming from department
This
heads.
comes from
So the-
staff.
From Tim?
The staff.
No,
No,
this is
staff.
from, I'm going to say myself and Zach and
Okay.
and specific to the E EDA.
So,
This is the operating budget.
all right. So it is coming from the EDA in a sense?
EDA staff.
Through the city
Basically, our
staff,
what
yes.
they think we're gonna spend based on
Sure.
historical spending.
Yes.
All right,
We have history now.
Operation.
all right, that makes sense.
We have history, Scott.
That's what I said,
Yeah.
So what do
some
you,
time ago.
what do we want to do? You want to take her to 100?
I
Is that a
don't-
thing?
You can
Is
put
it, you need direction from us at this point?
I mean, if you'd like, I guess it would probably help if you had, I'm anticipating more questions than answers. So if there's things you want to know, I mean, we can look at similar sized cities of what their EDA is collecting for a tax levy and what they're spending it on. Granted, every city is different, depends on what this EDA wants to do. If you want to continue to buy property, you need to have money to buy it to do that.
Given the fact we had 3 years of zero, I think at this point we should accelerate this.
Well, and the other thing is, it seems, I'm the new guy, but it does seem like the EDA is a growing, expanding entity within Dayton. And last year we spent 28. Why wouldn't it be
So
15% higher than
that was 2024, so that's the
20.
budgeted. So 2025, this year, your budget is zero. So everything we spend is coming out of reserves,
With nothing coming back in.
nothing coming back in.
So I think we should do what Dave says here. Let's take it to 100 and see what it says on the council level.
You can put whatever you want, I don't care.
4.6
Right
million.
now, I don't care. I can tell you, you won't get 100, but.
Whoa, 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 you're 1 of 5 now, come on. Let's see if we can expand that a little.
Yeah.
And just see what the guy's saying. If we can fund ourselves, I'm okay with that, but we still need seed money.
I'll just say there's some need there, that's it.
Yeah,
That's
definitely is
Yeah.
a need.
You
We
okay
can't
with
go
that?
forever without a budget, 'cause
Whatever you
eventually
want.
we're gonna run out of money.
Move on.
We're moving on, because we're gonna move on.
Okay, so the direction is ask for more than zero.
Go to 100.
100,000? Okay.
I think,
Okay, does that clear up our staff updates, EDA member, closed session?
Sure. Yeah. So closed session, Chris will go to closed session. This will take a couple minutes.
I'm gonna use the bathroom, close the door. We have to close the door at this session.
Yes.
You have to move to it first.
Oh, Tim, you have to move into a closed session before we actually do it.
If you want to take a little break before you do that, go for it.
Motion to move to closed session?
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All opposed? Motion carries, we will close session. Party's over? Are we good?
Motion to close.
We did motion to close. We did that.
Adjourn the meeting.
We need a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, let's go back to work.